What if ancient stories foretold our tech, our politics, even our climate crisis? Thousands of years before smartphones, before artificial intelligence, before rising sea levels dominated headlines. Our ancestors sat around fires and told stories. Stories about towers that reached too high, about boxes that should never have been opened, about winters that would never end. We call them myths, legends, folklore. But what if they were something more? What if buried in these ancient tales are warnings, coded messages from civilizations that saw patterns we're only now beginning to understand? Today, we're exploring 5 ancient myths that feel less like fantasy and more like prophecy. Throughout human history, myths have served a purpose far greater than entertainment. They were how our ancestors made sense of the world, explaining everything from why seasons change to why suffering exists. But here's what many people miss. Myths were also vehicles for wisdom. They encoded lessons about human nature, about the consequences of ambition, about the cycles that civilizations seemed doomed to repeat. The Greek philosophers knew it. The Hindu sages knew it. Indigenous storytellers across the Americas knew it. And when you look at these stories through modern eyes, something remarkable happens. Patterns emerge. Parallels appear. Tales that seemed fantastical suddenly feel familiar. Over the next few minutes, we'll journey through 5 ancient myths from different corners of the world, from the deserts of Mesopotamia to the frost-covered lands of Scandinavia, from ancient Greece to the mountains of India and the rainforest of the Americas. Each of these myths contains a mirror, reflecting back our own era in ways their original tellers could never have imagined. Or could they? Let's begin. In the book of Genesis, humanity speaks one language. United and ambitious, they gather in the land of Shinar and begin a monumental project, a tower that would reach the heavens themselves. "Let us make a name for ourselves," they declared. They used the most advanced construction technology of their time. Bricks instead of stone, bitumen instead of mortar. They were going to touch the sky. But this unity concerned the divine. God observed their ambition and scattered them across the earth, confusing their language so they could no longer understand one another. The tower was abandoned. The city was named Babel, meaning confusion. Now consider our modern age. We've built our own towers, not of brick, but of code. The internet promised to unite humanity under a single digital language. Social media was supposed to bring us together. Artificial intelligence was meant to solve our greatest problems. Instead, we find ourselves more divided than ever. Echo chambers splinter our discourse. Algorithms push us apart rather than together. And as we race to build ever more powerful AI systems, many of the brightest minds in technology are warning us. We may be reaching too high, too fast, without understanding the consequences. The builders of Babel wanted to make a name for themselves through technological achievement. They learned that ambition without wisdom leads to fragmentation. Are we listening? In Greek mythology, Pandora was the first woman, created by the gods and given gifts by each of them. Aphrodite gave her beauty. Athena gave her skill. Hermes gave her curiosity and cunning. She was sent to earth with a single warning: never open the jar you carry with you. But curiosity is a powerful force. Pandora lifted the lid, and in that moment, every evil imaginable flew into the world. Disease, death, sorrow, strife. By the time she slammed it shut, only one thing remained inside: hope. The parallel to our modern world is haunting. Think of the scientists who split the atom. They unlocked unprecedented power and unleashed the possibility of nuclear annihilation. Think of the researchers who mapped the human genome. They opened doors to curing diseases and to editing human beings in ways we're only beginning to grapple with or consider our information age. We created platforms to share knowledge freely, but we also unleashed misinformation, conspiracy theories, and algorithmic manipulation that have fractured societies and undermined truth itself. Pandora's myth isn't about condemning curiosity. It's about recognizing that every discovery carries consequences. Some genies, once released from their bottles, cannot be put back. And yet, like Pandora's jar, hope remains. The question is whether we'll nurture it wisely. The Norse envisioned the end of the world not as a sudden divine judgment, but as a process, a series of catastrophic events called Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. It would begin with Fimbulwinter, 3 consecutive years of brutal cold, with no summer to break the darkness. Crops would fail. Wars would spread. Brothers would turn against brothers. Then would come the final battle. The gods themselves, Odin, Thor, Freyr, would march against the forces of chaos, knowing they were doomed. The sun and moon would be devoured. The earth would sink beneath the waves. But here's what makes Ragnarok different from many apocalyptic visions. After the destruction, the world rises again. A new earth emerges from the ocean, green and fertile. 2 humans, sheltered in the world tree, would repopulate the land. Surviving gods would rebuild. Destruction wasn't the end. It was transformation. Now look at our world. Scientists warn of climate tipping points. We watch wildfires, floods, and extreme weather events with increasing alarm. Rising seas threaten coastal cities. The old order feels precarious. Ragnarok suggests that civilizations have always faced existential threats, and that endings can become beginnings. But the Norse didn't promise survival would be easy. Their gods faced their doom with courage and dignity, fighting even when the outcome seemed certain. Perhaps that's the message. Hope lies not in avoiding change, but in how we face it. Across the indigenous cultures of the Americas, from the Andes to the Amazon to the lands of the North, variations of a powerful prophecy have been shared for generations, the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. According to this tradition, humanity long ago split into 2 paths. The eagle people of the North flew the path of the mind, developing science, technology, and industry. The condor people of the South flew the path of the heart, maintaining deep connections to intuition, spirituality, and the earth. For 500 years, the prophecy warned, the eagle would dominate. Its power would nearly drive the condor into extinction. This period, many interpreters note, aligns remarkably with the colonial era that began in the 1490s. But the prophecy doesn't end there. Beginning around 1990, a new era was set to commence. A time when the eagle and condor could fly together again. Not one dominating the other, but both soaring in the same sky, creating a new consciousness for humanity. This isn't a prediction of automatic harmony. It's an invitation, a possibility. Consider where we stand today. Western technology and indigenous wisdom are increasingly recognized as complementary rather than opposed. Climate scientists turn to traditional ecological knowledge. Modern medicine studies ancient healing practices. Young people seek meaning beyond material success. The eagle and the condor prophecy asks a simple question. Will we choose integration or continued separation? The answer, it suggests, will determine humanity's future. In Hindu cosmology, time moves in vast cycles called yugas, 4 great ages that rotate like seasons on a cosmic scale. We began in Satya Yuga, the golden age of truth and virtue. Then came Treta Yuga and Dvapara Yuga, each representing gradual decline. Now, according to tradition, we live in Kali Yuga, the age of darkness. The ancient texts describe this era with unsettling precision. Dharma, righteousness, stands on only one leg. Hypocrisy is practiced as virtue. Wealth becomes the sole measure of nobility. Family bonds weaken. Spiritual wisdom grows rare and misunderstood. The Bhagavata Purana warns of leaders who behave like thieves, of environmental degradation, of shortened human lifespans due to stress and disease. Truth fades and chaos rises. Read those descriptions and look at today's headlines. Political polarization, environmental crisis, a culture obsessed with appearance over substance, the erosion of trust in institutions, mental health epidemics among the young. The parallels are striking. But here's what makes the Kali Yuga concept profound. It isn't pessimism, it's perspective. The Hindu sages understood that darkness precedes dawn, that Kali Yuga, for all its challenges, is part of a cycle. Eventually, this age will end, and a new golden age will begin. Moreover, the text suggests that even in the darkest times, individual spiritual practice remains powerful. The path of devotion, bhakti, is said to be especially effective during Kali Yuga. The darkness is real, but so is the light that can pierce it. We've traveled through 5 different cultures, 5 different eras, 5 different visions of humanity's challenges and destiny, and a pattern emerges. These myths weren't just stories, they were maps. Warnings, mirrors held up to human nature itself. The Tower of Babel teaches us that technological ambition without wisdom leads to fragmentation. Pandora's box reminds us that every advance carries consequences we may not foresee. Ragnarok shows us that civilizations face collapse, but also that rebirth is possible for those who face their fate with courage. The eagle in Condor calls us toward integration rather than domination. And the Kali Yuga places our current struggles within a cosmic context, promising that even the darkest ages eventually yield to light. What's remarkable is how independently these insights arose. Different peoples, separated by oceans and millennia, arrived at similar truths about the human condition. Perhaps they understood something we're only now rediscovering, that history moves in cycles, that pride comes before falls, that hope must be actively preserved, that balance between mind and heart, progress and wisdom, individual and collective, is the key to survival. These stories survived because they speak to something permanent in us. They're not relics of the past, they're instructions for the present. The question is whether we'll read them. These myths may be thousands of years old, but their echoes are loud today. Were they predictions? Warnings from ancestors who saw further than we give them credit for? Or are they simply timeless truths about human nature? Patterns that repeat because we are, at our core, the same creatures who first told these stories around ancient fires. We'd love to know what you think. Do you see the modern world in these ancient tales? Which myth resonated most with you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The conversation is always richer with your voice in it. And if you love uncovering ancient wisdom that speaks to our world today, hit that subscribe button and join the Mythic Tales community. We bring forgotten legends back to life and show how they never really left us. Because the old stories aren't finished. They're still being told. We're living them right now.